This Week 3 DFS Picks edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is presented by MyBookie.ag. Right now to honor football, MyBookie is offering up to $1,000 in free bets using the promo code SGP. That's right, $1,000 in bonus bets on your first deposit when you use the promo code SGP. Play, win, and get paid at MyBookie.ag. Ooh, welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer dog?
Well, Sean, I'm wearing the Jeremy Shockey threads.
Yes. For those of you not watching on youtube.com/Sports Gambling Podcasts, you're missing out on Kramer dusting off the Jeremy Shockey jersey.
One of many that I own. Because I feel like we have a joyous day coming soon.
Oh, Ryan. We did the Eli Manning funeral. I think it was like 2 years ago. And still he's hanging on. He's hanging on.
Can I tease what's going to be coming when he's announced as not the starter?
What's that?
I'm thinking more of like a poem, like a child's poem. Where has Eli gone? Something maybe where he goes to the farm.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really all.
I'm just picturing.
I was workshopping this morning with myself.
I'm just picturing that scene in what is it, Billy Madison, where he freaks out. He's like, what? You lose your puppy? You just sit around and cry? No, you go out there and you find that fucking puppy. You got a responsibility. You got a pet, man. Ryan, we also have a responsibility, and that is to the listeners and viewers to give out great fantasy advice. That's why joining us, as always, for the DFS Picks podcast, the host of Inside Vegas, the one, the only, Christian Pina. What's up, Pina?
I got to tell you, Sean, that was probably the nicest introduction you've ever given me, man. The Boston in me doesn't really like it, but hey, we're almost got week 3 now, and now we're full. We are no longer in preseason form. We're not making mistakes, and apparently we're nice to each other all the way at week 3. I like it, bro.
Yeah, there's no chippiness. We're just here.
Chemistry coming together.
Exactly. It's all gelling. We didn't have a preseason, much like everyone in the NFL. And week 1 and week 2, that was our preseason. Now we're ready. Now we're ready to hit the ground running. And I'm not one to just randomly bitch about the reffing.
No, not at all.
But not even specific games. Even I found myself complaining about flags even when it helped me in gambling situations, which I never have found myself doing. Anytime a flag or injury happens, I consider it a blessing to help me in my bets from the heavenly gambling gods. But the flag calling's gotten insane. Like,
Sean,
every other play is a holding.
Just turn on the lawnmower music real quick, because I made a note in my phone. Please tell me this has not been exited from the board.
It's not currently there, Ryan, but I will track it down.
I made a note in my phone as we're watching 4 TVs in the studio. And, Sean, I got to be honest. Like, we probably had a smattering where it looked like you were playing Simon Says with yellow on all the different TVs. And you literally go, this is bullshit. Why are there so many penalties? So I take my phone out and I literally wrote Sean old penalties. Remember, you're just getting old, dude.
No,
your instincts allowed you to be mad at something even though it was helping you. You're an old guy.
Back in my Ryan, I'm a let him play guy, and now we got this bullshit pass interference just to appease these whiny Saints fans, and it happened again. And what the fuck, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck are just trying to rile up these Saints fans.
So up their ass.
Oh, this has happened again. Hey, he blew it dead when they shouldn't have blown it dead. Blown calls happen all the time.
Yeah.
You don't spend an hour making a blind ref costume that you wear to the game, or don't air the Super Bowl because you're a bunch of whiny babies. Saints fans, there was a thing called overtime that you guys got the ball the first. You got the kickoff in overtime.
Sean,
you blew that game. Okay,
you're missing
man
the
up.
point. Focus on the important part, and that's Saints fans need to look in the mirror.
Yeah,
and they need to think.
This is all karma.
They need to think long and hard. What were you a part of? What did you take part in? What were you complicit in for all these years? Because this karma seems well-deserved. In fact, as I see Greg Williams defend himself against Odell Beckham by saying he's never coached anyone like that, and while I think Odell is a lot of things, probably not a liar when he says, yeah, guys in this locker room are telling me that Greg Williams coached them to do that, but he literally was suspended for doing that. So
there's audio tape of him saying,
what else did you do, bro? What were they doing were there cameras? We know they got caught for the listening devices, but were there cameras? Who knows what kind of video we have of Rex Ryan right now in that locker room?
It's probably dubbed over of his wife's feet.
Wow.
Oh, man.
We're going there.
That was an all-timer. All
Wes
right.
Welker's about to get suspended.
Enough messing around. We're about to give out our DFS picks, a.k.a. Daily Fantasy Football. But this podcast is presented by, as always, mybookie.ag. They got a simple formula over there. Play, win, and get paid. Deposit, withdrawal, and that sweet cryptocurrency. They got the live in-game betting. I know that saved me on Sunday when the Raiders were up 10-0 against the Chiefs. Jesus Christ, you got plus odds on the Chiefs against the Raiders.
Do you remember that
live.
moment? Oh, it felt so good.
I go, Ryan, is this a misprint? I know there are sponsors. I feel bad bankrupting the good folks over at MyBookie, but sometimes you outsmart the bookie. Props. I know, Kramer, you went 3-2 in your Monday night props. Another winning little prop column.
In fairness, one of them was a plus 500. So
okay. So you're saying you...
No, I went 3-2, but I went for one of them.
Oh, okay. And you hit a plus 500.
No, I didn't hit a plus. That's one of the losses.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Hedging my bets.
Hedge your bets. And hedge your bets over at mybookie.ag. Use that promo code SGP. Play, win, and most importantly, get paid. But, how are things out in Las Vegas? How was week 2? Felt like week 1 there was a lot of activity. We were out there for the BetSperts weekend. Week 2, what did you get into? Where was your hang?
It's kind of like, like if you ever have you have a one night stand and then the girl like kind of stays an extra night or two and like it's so like like people need to go, like you got to find the local hangouts after that. It's a really week 2 is a really weird week, man. Like you feel like it should be, kind of calm, kind of quiet, strictly the, let's say the professional crowd. And yet somehow, some ways people come to Las Vegas for college football week 3 and specifically NFL week 2. And it's just, I'm not sure that would have been the slate that I would have picked. I feel like you're a little bit late to the table, but no, man, it was good. There was, from everybody I talked to, it was good handle. Look, man, books got killed. I mean, you're looking at Dallas, the number 1 liability, absolutely running away with that. I know it was on the skins in the super contest. So look, man, you're seeing these spreads. I've built this thesis the last couple of years. The spread is dead. And that's because parity is very much a dying thing in the NFL. The good teams are great. The bad teams are bad. Now you're seeing these spreads, the highest they've ever been. When you look at New England, again, breaking every gambling rule, as I've talked about before. You're looking at Dallas, huge favorites against Miami next week. Now you're seeing, my God, I don't even know what they make that New England line against the Jets next week, but you're finally seeing these kind of college style spreads, which shows me that odds makers are finally catching up. So it was the overreaction week, but wasn't the public bloodbath narrative that I kind of thought it would be.
Man, I will say, as someone who had a Denver plus 2.5 and Denver money line ticket,
oh man,
it was just there were, to your point about the flags, like some of these flags. That roughing the passer was just hot garbage. And hot. What really that's the thing. Like these numbers are going to get bigger and bigger. And I feel like this happened a couple years ago where we had this massive kind of maybe a half dozen teams that were just crushing everyone. The spreads were growing and growing, and it was every week the narrative was, well, is this the week that we buy back on the dog because these numbers are getting ridiculous? Miami as a 19-point home dog, you're like, this is ridiculous, but the Dolphins suck. But this is, and we see it. It doesn't even matter, right? We see this Dolphins team, they're going to require 3 touchdowns going forward, because they don't seem like they're getting off the bus. I think there's a couple other teams in that category.
And they just traded Minka Fitzpatrick to the Steelers for a first rounder.
What are they doing?
Why, if you're the Steelers, why are you giving up a first rounder? You just lost your franchise quarterback for the season.
Can I defend this? Because I don't think it's as bad as everyone thinks. He's still on a rookie deal. You have team control for a very long time. And if you don't think that there is that, depending on where Pittsburgh ends up drafting, look, that's a guy who's proven it. How many times we talk about all the first round busts? This is a guy who is not that. And you're getting an absolute stud in the back end of your defense under team control for so cheap. You're just really, kind of trading the unknown for the known. So I really don't hate that. I think it's more of a build. Like people want to look at it as, oh, why would you do this now? I think it's a building piece for next year or years after.
Maybe they like Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. I mean,
you know who he played for in college, Sean? The mullet himself, down there in Oklahoma State, where he played with James Washington. Stay tuned later.
Look
in the
out!
episode. But yeah, I don't know. There were a lot of things that annoyed me about this past weekend, but honestly, I did all right with the picks. Overall, I did all right with what I bet on. I'm not too upset.
Yeah, the KC live line.
You know what, though?
A lot of bad situations.
It felt good to be in the studio, not having to deal with 1,000 people around me. I was in my a good introverted space.
Didn't have to. Yeah,
on the lazy boy in the side pocket. I had the remote, I had the phone, and I had the pen. So everything was just gravy. It was all gravy. All right, we got Pro Football Doc coming up after we give out our picks here. So stay tuned for that. Going to talk a little injury and Big Ben, obviously Drew Brees, bunch of that. So stay tuned for that. But let's kick things off. Pina, who are you picking for your quarterback? How much you paying, and why are you picking him?
You can say a lot of things about me, and anyone else there can say a lot of things about me, but you can't say I do not turn a blind eye and I do not do anything except adapt, guys. And there was a world where I faded this guy every single week and every single chance I got. And you got to say one thing about me. I don't care. I have no bias, and I will adapt. Dak Prescott, 6,500. I can't believe it. It is. See it up. See it up for you guys. It is a disgusting act, man. And look, nobody has proven me wrong since Amari Cooper has got to town. Now, look, you're looking at this one's a little bit weird when you talk about the stat coming up later, because now we have Gallup going under the knife for a little bit. So we're going to have to go a little bit different direction, because we're going to have, in theory here, the only Dolphin who actually cares about playing football is Xavier Howard on Amari Cooper. So you're going to have to get a little bit creative, and maybe this just turns into the Zeke show here. But you look at Dak, man. I mean, look. A motivated player, look, you guys know I'm all about narrative. A motivated player is a very dangerous one. You're looking at 36 and 28. Look, he has proven me wrong. Mitch Trubisky is trying to prove me right. Goff, jury's still out on. I know you've bought some stock in me with that one on Jared Goff Sucks Island, man. But look, numbers are numbers. Numbers don't lie. What is the Jay-Z quote? People lie, numbers won't, man. Dak Prescott, 65.
It is so big of you to take a man named Rain Dakota.
Rain.
I will say he's having a great year. What could go wrong? How expensive is he going to be? He might get that $40 million he was asking for, Sean.
God, we can only hope. I was in a couple season-long fantasy, and I'd Roethlisberger.
Touting your season-long fantasy.
Even though I don't like season-long, I got suckered into a couple, and I had Big Ben as my quarterback. So I had to pick up someone. Dakota Prescott was available, but instead I went with Matt Stafford simply out of spite. Even though
you just can't do it.
Nah, I have personal pride in these friendly leagues. So but hey,
can't do it, won't do it.
Kramer, who's your quarterback?
Well, I mean, Sean, I've been watching the Giants now for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think this DeAndre Baker kid could be good in a little bit. Not right now. I think they have two safeties that fall for the play action pass every single fucking time. And I think what I saw in Jameis Winston on Thursday night was a guy who had a really nice night, and if his teammates don't drop 2 touchdowns, we're talking a little bit differently about him. And as he said, Coach Arians told me to do you and sling that rock, so that's what I did. I'm going Jameis Winston against the New York Giants, who, God help me, if they announced that if Daniel Scones is, you can't start the kid on the road, right? Isn't this where you put Eli out to pasture, out to retirement with the rest of the Northeastern folk that migrate down to Florida? You just leave him, right? You leave him at the field after the game. Jameis Winston, 5,400.
What's the one? Jerry's parents in Seinfeld. What's the name of their like Boca?
Oh God, yeah, somewhere
Well, at home against the Redskins, that could be the following
week.
Coming. Could be a perfect spot for Scones man to start. Speaking of, he just slayed your Giants. Now he's at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. Give me Josh Allen. It hasn't been crazy numbers, but he's getting touchdowns. He's getting you those rushing yards. Cincinnati, who I was sneakily high on coming into the season, looked like complete dog shit at home. Now you have to go up to Buffalo. Buffalo coming off 2 road wins, some confidence. Allen throwing the ball decent. And I think he's gonna get some running yards. So yeah, and he's only 5,900. So give me Josh Allen at home.
Sean, can I tell you, low point in the Kramer Fuck My Life tour?
Yeah,
losing to the K-Metric superstar himself. I mean, he's on the K-Metric Mount Rushmore.
Oh, he's right up there. He's on the dollar bill if they made it one
just
for the K-Metric.
On brand UVA with the push. Loss on the podcast picks with the Fuck My Life tour is just unbelievable right now.
It's going so strong.
So strong.
Pina, who's your first running back?
I want assets, and when we're going up against the AFC East guys, you got to stack this any way you can. And look, for me, Sony Michel at 6,000. Look, this last game against Miami, you look at the first game against Pittsburgh in a 33-3 blowout, he did absolutely nothing. You're looking at 1.4 points, right? So now, all of a sudden in week 2, and I know how we all love to overreact to pretty much everything after week 1, this was kind of, is this the running back carousel? What is going to be the future here? And this was so much more on brand. And tell me how this is going to be much different with Luke Falk or Le'Veon Bell as the QB2 with Sony Michel. This is garbage time running out the clock. This is the same exact game script that we just saw in a game where he put up 85 in a touchdown. So Sony Michel, I'm stacking a lot of Patriots here in this lineup. You'll see that, but I just, maybe it's a lazy take, but to me, it's too easy, guys. Sony Michel, 6,000.
Yeah, and it's in New England, and Jets coming off a short week and look super banged up. So that's a great play. Kramer, who's your first running back?
I have the same thing. I want every bit. Now, there's part of me that worries that we're gonna have a random like Rex Burkhead sighting, but it does seem like I feel like Belichick drafted Sony Michel at the end of the first round just so he could have him for 5 years to run him into the ground. Like, you draft him at the end of the first round, you get that extra year to run the guy.
It's like Joseph Adai, but he can actually make it. I get it.
And while that being said, Michel has looked good, and I think we saw Pina highlighted everything. 21 carries last week. I think it's hard to not see the same situation here. Sure, the Jets may be motivated, but this team. I mean, there are some bad teams. The fact that the Giants aren't clearly in the bottom 3 teams suggests to me that there's some really bad teams out there.
Well, Ryan, you mentioned looking good, and no quarterback has looked better post-game than my boy Cam Newton, just, with a nice babushka.
Can we talk about this real quick?
I'm still laughing at the him wearing that little scarf saying he's going to drive this car right off the cliff from, what's that fucking, I'm blanking on the
Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and Louise. Oh my God.
Well, someone tweeted in, and I wish I had it in front of me because I'm sure I'm going to misquote it, but he said that he showed a picture of Cam Newton to his girlfriend, and she straight-faced asked if he was transitioning.
Well, Ryan, I don't know whatever stage he's in, but it's clearly a stage that doesn't involve him throwing downfield. It involves him checking down, and it involves them giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey. If your quarterback can't throw the ball, you need a workhorse like Christian McCaffrey, which they have, the Carolina Panthers. They're going up against Arizona. I just think this guy's going to get like what we saw with Le'Veon Bell tonight against the Jets. I think he's going to get that similar amount of production, or at least targets, carries, everything. I think Rivera's going to give him like 35 targets combined, 35 touches. I mean,
wow.
8,700. It's in Arizona. I think they're just going to give the ball to McCaffrey a bunch. So, yeah, give me Christian McCaffrey. Pina, who's your second running back?
I'm with you, man. Let's back up that white Escalade McCaffrey, 8,700. Now, look, you guys know I love buying high and I love selling low, and you're coming off a game. Look, short game plan. You have, 4 days to figure this out for the Thursday night football game from the Tampa side. All right, well, in 4 days, what can you do? Well, let's just take out the number one option and see what happens. And that's what they did, and they game planned for that. I almost think it worked in Tampa's, kind of favor to, have that short week to just say, let's take McCaffrey out. And again, before that lightning delay, he touched the ball 6 times in the first 8 plays. And as I kind of thought that would happen, I was sitting on a lot of McCaffrey shorting stock in a lot of different prop markets, and I was like, oh God, here we go again. But I mean, you're looking at it. I mean, let's talk about these splits here, guys. I mean, week 1 he put up 46 fantasy points. Week 2, 7. He's not as good, nor is he anywhere close to as bad as what those indicate. You give me the average of those 2 numbers, I'm happy every single time. And look, guys, what do? We buy running backs against the Arizona Cardinals, and that's what we're doing here. So Christian McCaffrey, 8,700.
Kramer, who's your second running back?
Beep, beep, beep. I'm starting Saquon Barkley every week on this fucking show.
You need something.
They're
to
not
hang
even
out
giving him the ball, and he's putting up 25 points a week.
That was my favorite
They're
part.
playing Tampa. Come on.
Besides the money I won on the Buffalo Bills, while Kramer argued unsuccessfully for trying to turn the TV off the Giants game. Ryan goes, they put in Wayne Gallman? And Ryan, that guy just wished you a happy birthday not 1 week ago.
Yeah,
and I thought you'd be more excited about the Wayne train being in there.
I'm as excited as he was as he wished me happy birthday.
Happy birthday, real Ronnie Kramer.
Happy birthday to the number one Giants fan, Ryan Will Money Kramer.
Number one Giant. Maybe, hey, does he really need $35 that much? I guess.
How many? Yeah, he's pumping them out, Just getting the name out there. Just getting those hits. Trying to do some ESPN after his career's over.
Now this guy, he's coming off a big game, but he had a big game in week 1, and that's because they're just going to give this guy the ball every chance they can get, and that is Dalvin Cook. $7,800. We're going to talk to Pro Football Doc later, and he mentioned Dalvin Cook as a guy who finally got his injury stuff figured out and loves the bursts he's seeing out of Dalvin Cook. I'm also on board. Minnesota, here's a little stat. They are undefeated when they don't allow Kirk Cousins to pass the ball more than 10 times. It's a winning formula. They're back at home against the Raiders. Non-conference road game for the Raiders. Good spot for Minnesota to get back to what worked, and I'm sure Zimmer's just going to go nuts and say, give Dalvin Cook the ball 35 times. Dalvin Cook, 7,800.
Wow.
Pina, who's your first receiver?
Yeah, guys, look, I'm with you, Sean, on that. Just a little bit from a different take here, and I want pieces of this Minnesota offense, and I'm going Adam Thielen. I mean, we're looking at a guy who last year all he did is go for 100 yards and whatever it was, 12 straight. I mean, you look at the targets, right? Week 1, it was a really weird week. 3, I mean, again, talk about Cousins throwing the ball 10 times.
Yeah.
You're looking at 3 targets, 100% conversion rate. Week 2 had to work a little bit, right? 5 for 8, 75. Obviously, the touchdown kind of bailed out his week 1. Thielen's too good, despite whatever the fact that they are trying to do here. If they're trying to become a run-first team of kind of the Minnesota of old with AP, I just think that Thielen there's too much going on there. He's too good of a receiver for this to kind of continue. And I am all about buying a guy off a 43 and 75 week performance back-to-back in a matchup against, the Oakland Raiders, and again, this team being at home, yeah, sure. I do believe Dalvin Cook gets his, and I do love that play. But I just think that you're almost getting a discount on a guy, and after 2 weeks in a short sample size season, people are forgetting how good Adam Thielen is. So Thielen, 6,700.
I'm feeling Adam Thielen.
Sean. Oh, I see what you did there, Kramer.
I'm just working on that poetry. Just wait, it's coming.
Who's your first receiver?
Well, let's stack it up. And here's the thing. You scroll down and you're not super surprised, right, when you see Mike Evans. Mm-hmm. Wait a second. Mike Evans is worth less than Godwin? Okay, I get it.
What the fuck?
Godwin has been getting and doing work, and for a while now
Do you know why?
We've heard the stories about how Godwin is the number. Godwin has always been the potential number 1B. Tell me why, Peanut.
No, do you know why, dude? So if you go back and you look at what Carolina does, this is the craziest stat. So over the past, basically, I think 6 games, Mike Evans has averaged like 54 yards against Carolina. All they do is game plan against Evans. They roll coverage. They just refuse to let him beat them. Again, prop markets, unders. There's a couple of things that I will almost blindly play, and this came to fruition with Jared Cook unders last week. Look, tight end unders against the Saints and Mike Evans unders against Carolina. I love that play, man. You're getting a huge discount off a guy where they just traditionally they're not going to let that guy beat them.
Well, here's the problem, and while I like Godwin, I think he's pretty good. He shouldn't be priced more than Mike Evans, especially in this matchup where they're going to let Janoris Jenkins have a lot of one-on-one coverage, and the kind of receiver he struggles against is a big receiver like Mike Evans. I was always going to stack Winston. I actually went into this thinking I would be stacking him with Godwin because of how bad Baker has been. But I am now starting to wonder. I read a beat reporter point out that they may put Jenkins on Godwin because he tends to struggle against the bigger Mike Evans types. I really like Mike Evans here. I was shocked that he's $300 less than Godwin. That's my stack. Mike Evans, 6,600. It's time.
Kramer,
because he's been sleeping.
You made a great case as to why you shouldn't pick Chris Godwin, but I'm picking him anyway.
Oh, okay.
Give me Godwin at 6,900.
Just get all your bucks in the lineup.
I mean, you pointed out some great reasons as to why to take Mike Evans, but I'm just going to say Chris Godwin is going to be going up against – is there a number 2 cornerback in the Giants?
Yeah, DeAndre Baker.
All right. So whoever it is or whatever situation's going on, I still like Godwin at 6,900. He seems to have some chemistry with Jameis. Peanut also made a good point, but I'm just going to stick it out with Godwin. I was big on him coming into the season. He's looked great both games.
He has. He's looked really good. But
so I'm going to stick with him.
I think eventually when the number 2 keeps burning teams, they're like, maybe we can't just shut down Mike Evans.
Well, do you think that's the kind of adjustments you see out of the New York Giants coaches? No, I don't think so.
Oh, Sean, that's not very nice.
Pina, who's your second receiver?
Look, I was as surprised as any, and I go over the Patriots stuff a lot more than most from a gambling perspective, not a fan perspective, to see what AB did, and he really did pull a Josh Gordon. And look, buy low, sell high. I mean, look, this is a Jets team who just got toasted by the number 1, as we just saw with Beckham. And so I think that if you can get AB in there, you absolutely can. You probably have to sub out, either Thielen or McCaffrey. But I'm going to go with that too, guys, and that's Josh Gordon. I just think that somehow, I don't know how you do it. You triple cover. I just don't think that you can let AB beat you after what you just saw on tape. Nobody had seen him in that offense. And look, maybe this is just Randy Moss 2.0, and there's nothing you can do to stop that type of skill set in that type of offense. And that'll be a learning lesson, and we can chalk week 3 up to a learning lesson. But I'm going Gordon at 5,400. Look, this price point is a little bit crazy to me, just because you look at AB's price point at 71. I believe these two were almost flipped last week. I mean, AB was pretty cheap last week. Maybe it wasn't 54, but it was a lot less than 71. Let's say that. So, you look at this at 73 yards, and then last week, obviously, he took a back seat and really wasn't involved in the second half. Well, they were up 1,000. So while they may be up 1,000 again, and maybe this is just the AB show, and everyone's going to take that back seat. But I just have to take this huge discount on a guy like Gordon, who can break a slant to the house against anybody. And let's not forget, guys, Xavier Howard. I mean, if you have Josh Gordon or you have Antonio Brown, who are you going to go, as a, I guess, semi-employed, trying to pretend we're not tanking Miami coach, who are you going to have him cover? I would have him cover Antonio Brown, which is Gordon, right for the picking at 5,400.
I do like Gordon at his slightly depressed price. Now the Patriots claiming they were unaware of this law. I mean, are you excited?
Had no idea.
Are you excited for your new cornerback, Jalen Ramsey? He's.
I just saw on Twitter they offered a first and a future second.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
The Patriots did?
I'm not kidding. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
This is so funny. It's literally a kid with a brain playing Madden against a bunch of full blown apes. Everyone else is just playing a different sport. Sean, what are we at?
We are at your second receiver.
Oh, well, Russell has a new favorite muscle, and that is DK Metcalf. You can tell I had some time to prepare for the show, Sean.
I appreciate it.
I mean, not only does he look the part coming off the bus, but he knows how to catch that underthrown back shoulder. Russell Wilson. Danger, Russ.
Danger.
The price has not caught up yet. They're facing New Orleans, and I think New Orleans will actually be I think New Orleans will be able to move the ball on offense against most teams. It's in Seattle. I like Metcalf to score a touchdown, and I think right around where he's been, maybe 5 catches, 80 yards and a touchdown.
He's going to pull up his shirt, show off those abs.
Whatever it takes.
Pete Carroll's going to pull his shirt off as well.
I haven't mentioned it yet, but a lot of drip going on with this squad.
Squad.
A lot of drip.
This guy, I don't know if he's
guy.
He's probably not on the drip squad because he's flying under the radar, but he is my stack with Josh Allen, and that is John Brown.
Okay.
John Brown, back-to-back games with 7 receptions each on the road, totaling 195 between the two games and a touchdown. Coming off a 0 touchdown game, but he still had 8 targets, 7 catches, highly efficient. He seems to be the number one there in Buffalo to pair up with Josh Allen. And again, I love the matchup against his Cincinnati defense, which you saw super porous at home. Now they go up to Buffalo, and look at it. I think Buffalo should be able to move the ball. So yeah, give me John Brown, a number 1 at a number 2 price.
What could go wrong?
I mean, it is the Bills, so that's kind of, maybe I'm getting cute, but I spent big on the running backs, and now I'm a more economical approach with the other pass catchers.
Using words.
Pina, who's your third receiver?
Don't listen to him, Sean. You know who one of the 10 undefeated teams in the league are right now? It's the Buffalo Bills. So
There
your
you
stack
go.
is right on point.
Nobody circles the wagon. And in honor of Chris Berman returning to prime time on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, real quick, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
ESPN realized that no one wants to watch these millennial like wannabe improv fucks doing sports talk.
Yep.
Is that what they figured out finally?
Well, the world was missing Tej.
You know what I want? I want a dude who's into diz. You know, I want a guy who's into slamming some codeine and forgetting.
Yep.
That's what I want. Sorry, Pina.
No, I mean, hey, who doesn't like that on a Saturday night, right, bro? Stack guys here. I got to do it with Dak. Look, I do like Xavier Howard on Amari Cooper scares me. I know the Dolphins don't give a shit. Xavier Howard tweeted out the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life tonight. Did you guys see this? What he tweeted out?
No, what'd he say?
So you remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I believe it was like the series finale when Uncle Phil and the family move out and Will Smith is in the house empty, just looking alone, like in the living room, like looking around, like where is everybody? Yeah. So he tweeted out like that GIF. It was just basically like, what the fuck? Like, where's everybody? What's going on right now, man? Look, and he's still on a rookie deal. He's, in my estimation, still the best cornerback that nobody knows about. We have talked about him on this show for how long now, and he's the one guy that I think. I mean, I don't know if he was. I haven't gone back and looked truthfully on coverage splits on if he was on Gordon, which would explain what happened last week and why AB went off, but. I'm still deathly afraid of him. And so that kept me off Amari Cooper. But, it's not going to keep me off of it, and that's the number 2. And you look at Gallup being out 2 to 4 weeks. Let's talk about a forgotten son here, and that's Devin Smith, guys. I mean, look, he only played on, 18 of 70 snaps, still finished with 3 for 74 and a touchdown. He is taking over that Gallup role, maybe more of a GPP play for sure, but at 3,400, I think that you're getting basically, with a week of practice, the Gallup route tree at a price point that is more than half discounted. So Xavier Howard can take out Cooper all he wants. I think it's going to leave Devin Smith, kind of open on the outside, deep ball. I think it gets behind the defense, and with this, you only need one to make this play worth it. So Devin Smith, 3,400.
Sean, I kind of like that. That was someone who was in consideration when I was going.
It's a deep pull, and I love the logic.
I gotta, you gotta save money sometimes when you have these fat Escalades in your garage. I'm already sitting there with Sony Michel, Saquon Barkley. What else could I? Jameis Winston's in there fondling a driver.
He's not in an Escalade. He's in a Uber XL.
No, he's in the back of the Escalade.
He will be working as an Uber driver
trying to
in a couple
get
years.
through the glass. Listen, I mentioned this earlier. I'm kind of okay with Mason Rudolph. I thought he was a quarterback that got a little disrespected in the draft process. And I like that he has a rapport with a kid he went to college with, and James Washington, and we saw what they've done in the preseason. James Washington, he's yet to really do it. He's yet to have that kind of coming out party as a pro. They have a matchup upcoming against the San Francisco team that, God, fuck you if I'm going to believe they're going to have a good pass defense this year. Richard Sherman is washed up. They might have a decent front seven, but I just can't believe
they've gotten burned a bunch so far.
So I needed to go low here. I like the sneaky college teammates angle, and I saw what happened when he threw that ball at Moncrief. Moncrief let it go right through his hands, hit him in the face mask, interception. You know what that tells me? Get the fuck out of here. James Washington, 3,500.
This guy.
Oh man,
my third receiver again. Possible number 1 value.
Oh, here we go.
And that is Nelson Aguilar.
Oh,
that's right.
Christ.
He's only $3,600. Alshon Jeffrey doesn't look like he's going to play. Deshaun Jackson right now, as we're taping this Monday night, 50-50.
I felt bad for you, Sean.
With all those guys out, I don't need your sympathy, Rod. With all those guys out, Nelson Aguilar kind of became the number one receiver. And at $3,600, this Eagles offense seemed to come to life in the second half when Wentz got his shit together. They're going to be at home against Detroit. Good spot. They're still 7-point favorites, even with some of the skill guys and everyone banged up. I mean, Aguilar's coming off a big game, but I think he's going to have another one just strictly off the number of targets. And at $3,600, you're getting a guy who probably should get 8 or 9 targets. That, to me, is a tremendous value for my client. So give me Nelson Nelly Aguilar. Pina, who's your tight end?
Man, maybe the best tight end in football from my points per game perspective here. And I don't know. Look, I didn't buy into this guy, and maybe I'm looking at this a little bit differently, a little bit contrarian here. But when you look at, for whatever reason, what Seattle has given up to tight ends this year, maybe that is a more of a buy on the guys they face, more of an indictment on Seattle, who traditionally has been pretty good against this. You're looking at a Saints tight end in Jared Cook at 5.7 and 4.5, right? But let's look at this a little bit deeper. What do we always say backup quarterbacks like to do, right? So number twos play with number twos, not to say that Cook is a number 2 as a backup, but once Breeze kind of left, 7 targets for my man Jared Cook here in this offense. Absolutely love this, and I don't think the price point has really caught up as to this is a floor price point, and I'm not sure why. So 3,800, a little bit crazy, and I think that this guy could explode and people start to remember just how good he is again. So Jared Cook at 3,800.
Love it. Kramer.
Well, Sean, I'm down near the bottom. I don't have a ton of money to spend, but I spotted here. I spotted a diamond in the rough. And while the analytic nerds will tell you, well, the Falcons are pretty good against the tight end so far. If you look at DVOA, fuck you. I watched that game. Zach Ertz was shredding them. And granted, he's Zach Ertz, but when I look to the Indianapolis Colts and I see what they're doing so far, I see Jack Doyle on the field a lot. So I wanted to validate that. I wanted to make sure my eyes weren't lying to me. 70% of the snaps, he's out there. He has not been heavily involved in the passing game, hence why you see his price point at the hilarious $3,000, right where I needed it. But I needed someone for less than $3,300, Sean. And I was unwilling to compromise on this top secret extra Escalade. We're doing some renovations to expand the fucking garage.
How can you get all this horsepower into one garage?
So I went Jack Doyle here. I think he's gonna get. My eyes tell me after watching that Eagles game when they had no receivers and yet the tight end was still getting open. That tells me that they're going to struggle there. I think we're going to see a little bit of Ebron. We're going to see more of Doyle. I think he finds the end zone. 3,000, Jack Doyle.
Okay. I was just looking at George Kittle.
Are you changing your lineup right
now?
No.
What?
George Kittle.
I was just looking at George Kittle's season stats.
Zach, close your Zach Ertz in studio.
Zero,
You're not like hearing
zero
that.
touchdowns, 11 catches for 108 yards.
Kittle has had
games.
two touchdowns called back, the penalty.
Yeah. Well, he's a loser. You know who's not a loser? Jared Cook. Pina made a great case for him. I'm also on Cook. $3,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Pina said, the backup QBs and even in particular the Butler, Teddy Bridgewater, was loving him. So, yeah, $3,800 for Jared Cook. Nice opportunity there. Pina, who's in your flex spot?
I did it, guys. The rare double tight end stack at 5,200. Evan Ingram is the 1A option. And look, here's what's great about this. How many times we talk about game script, right? Well, this is why this is so great. No matter what happens. So when it's a neutral game script, Evan Ingram is the 1A target. When the Giants are down by 100, he's the 1A target. I mean, you're looking at 14 targets week 1, 8 targets week 2. I get it. He only had 48 yards, but let's, regression to the mean here on 8 targets compared to 14. This price point is, honestly, this may be a little bit bullish, but he needs to be priced in the top 5 tight ends he kind of claimed to be, or, kind of came up to be last year. Like, would I put him at 7,100 for Kelsey? No. Would I put him at 57 for Ertz? yeah, I would put him right, kind of in that same thing. And I know $500 may not seem like a big difference, but when you're talking about how kind of DraftKings sets these things, it kind of is a big difference when you're looking at how these things kind of add out to be, where you talk about $100 from a big tier drop to somebody else. So Evan Ingram, 5,200 should be the second highest priced tight end on this slate. So double stack here, Evan Ingram, 5,200.
Spicy, Peanut.
He definitely has a high target floor. I would say from an opportunity perspective, he's in
From an
there.
opportunity perspective.
Wow, is it my turn, Sean?
It is. Who's your flex?
I need like I don't know what it sounds like when a rave truck is backing up into the garage, the newly renovated.
Oh, sorry. A rave truck? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because Zeke Elliott, he's coming back from Cabo. He's a little lit, and he's taking on the Miami Dolphins.
Oh man.
We've not had a Zeke scores like 3 or 4 touchdown game yet, and while he's in shape now, right? He's played his way into game shape. As much
keep
as
feeding him.
I mean, Dak is probably a good play too with the way this Dolphins team has been playing. They're
Oh my God.
They're giving teams like 42 points to start just right off the bat. Yeah, it's hard. It was hard for me to not. Part of the reason I have Jack Doyle and James Washington is because I just had to get Zeke, Michelle in my lineup to go with Barkley. So give me that. What would Zeke be if he was a truck? He'd be some sort of like convertible Escalade, right?
Yeah. Ford Raptor.
Chevy
Ford
Suburban.
Raptor. He'd be a Ford Raptor with like giant eyelashes.
That they put on the headlights there.
Oh, Herbie. No, Lindsay Lohan movie. What am I thinking of?
The Love Bug. Oh
right,
man, that would
Herbie,
be,
right?
Yeah,
Love bug. Yeah.
that'd be a great Photoshop. Zeke's face on Herbie the Love Bug.
Meanwhile, Gardner Minshew would be the pussy wagon
Oh
from
my
Kill
God!
Bill.
Yeah, exactly. This guy Kramer, we have him in our listener fantasy league, and
Wow.
I don't think we've played him. We've really
You're starting Daniel Scones Jones in your flex.
no. I am starting a man who's already gotten
Fitzy.
24 targets, and that is the Fitz dog himself, Larry Fitzgerald. Murray's at home, and again, we said this I think early on, maybe even in the fantasy receivers preview. We tagged Fitzgerald. I mean, we drafted him in the listener league. Haven't been playing him enough, but you're a little guy. You're running around back there. You're just going to throw it up to a super tall dude with dreads.
How is he
it just
thinking
makes
about
sense.
retiring? He's still easily one of the best 20 receivers in the league. It's honestly a little bit like I don't want to put – it's probably a fair comparison and also incredibly unfair, but it's almost like Jerry Rice. Like Jerry Rice never got bad, you know? Like Larry Fitzgerald – like he would be the best receiver on the Giants tomorrow if he just came over. And he's old as shit.
He left though. I think was he really that good in Oakland? I don't remember. I mean, that was almost like a little bit before my time, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
So that was when I was first getting him.
I mean, I was also younger, but I don't have that memory. It's like Barry Sanders. He just went away. So everyone else, it's like they get bad, right? Like Emmitt Smith, it was just like, all right, dude, you got to stop.
His last year in Oakland, he still had 63 catches. Oh, well, then he was on 2 teams in 2004. He got down to 30 catches, but
maybe he stuck it out too long because he's an addict, just like the rest of us.
But he played from 1985 to 2004. That's insane.
But Fitzgerald is just, I mean, he's still going strong. It's clear that while Murray's going to sling the rock and spread it around, like I said to you on Sunday, we got to find a way to get him in the lineup.
I don't know what we've been doing fucking around. But, yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, 5,100. Peanut, close things out strong. Who's your D?
Saved a little money, guys, when you get Devin Smith in there. Look, you know how many points the Miami Dolphins scored this week?
0.
You know who has the fastest defense in the NFL?
Oh, man. The Cowboys?
Like it or not, it's the Dallas Cowboys.
Disgusting act.
I look.
Yeah,
hey,
no, I mean, how can you not
people
play
lie,
that?
numbers won't. I need you to just isolate this because this is going to be a sound drop all season. I think people lie, numbers won't. Dallas Cowboys 4,300. I don't know how they score 3 points.
That's one of the highest prices I've seen for a defense in DraftKings.
Over 4,000 is pretty rare,
It's
right?
pretty insane, yeah.
Even 3,800 is awfully high for the Patriots, but who apparently they even have a really good defense to go with their their ridiculous
It's fucking
offense
annoying.
this year.
Well,
but you know
the
what's
Jets are probably starting Luke Falks.
Can I just make a prediction right now?
Yeah.
some dog shit team is going to make a run in the NFC, and they're going to randomly have a pass rush. That or Brady's just going to get hurt. Not that I'm wishing for that or anything. My defense, Sean.
Who's your D?
You know what I do.
Where's the D, Ryan?
When you need all the room for the Escalades, you got to get rid of that fourth bedroom. So I scroll all the way down to the bottom. I go, who's the cheapest home defense? Get the fuck out of here. The Chargers pass rush against Deshaun Watson
you stole
and the
mine.
Houston. I was always gonna if I see a pass rush against a bad offensive line, and they also happen to be one of the cheapest defenses on the board. That's just a bad price. I don't care if Houston puts up 30 points. You know what creates the high floor, Sean? When you get 6 sacks.
Yep.
And
that's how you get some turnovers is having Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram go up against this dog shit Houston offensive line. And that's why I like the Jags. That's why they were my dog. I thought their line would be able to pressure Houston, and they did.
Bill O'Brien's going to kill Deshaun Watson.
He really is. He just doesn't give a fuck. And now it's in Los Angeles, and this, as noted, Justin Decker will be in attendance.
Oh, my
San
goodness.
Diego.
Pray for him.
Superchargers.
Pray for him.
Although they are going full Chargers mode, so it's going to be scary probably picking them because they're back to missing field goals and fumbling on the goal line and throwing interceptions in the end zone. God, they had fucking 4 balls inside the 20 there, 0 points. Amazing performance by the Chargers. A complete collapse against the Lions there. But yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers 2,500. Great opportunity. And Texans don't travel, so you don't have to worry about that as possibly being an issue. All right. Well, I think that does it. We got Pro Football Doc coming up in a second, but thanks as always for Christian Pina for calling in. Make sure you check out Inside Vegas. Give him a follow on Twitter at Christian Pina. Pina, before we let you go, what can people expect on Inside Vegas coming up?
Yeah, guys, we recap week 2. We finally got into the NFL season, and we had Greg Peterson on, who's done articles for the New York Post. He is a VSiN host, and his style is volume betting. So he bets every side, every total, every single week in NFL. So we broke down the differences between that and how some professionals like to zero in and kind of locate their niches. This week, again, different handicapper every week is kind of our thing, so you can get as many different styles as you want. So week 3 will be a different handicapper, breaking down the NFL week 3 slate on Inside Vegas Friday mornings that will drop.
Sean, I gotta start telling people I'm a volume better. I like that. That's a fancy way of saying.
Sounds much better than a complete degenerate.
Yeah, that's like when you call your.
He bets. Listen, he bets every single side, every single total in both Major League Baseball, National Football League, and college basketball. College basketball, you're looking at like 300 bets a day. And look, I kind of, before I knew him, and again, Inside Vegas, he is a Vegas guy. I've got to know him very well. One of what I would call a good friend in this town. And I believe he's up about 55 units in Major League Baseball doing that, and already up about like 4 or 5 through 2 weeks in NFL doing that. So. Look, different strokes for different folks, but the guy kills it with his style. So
awesome. Well, make sure you check that out and check out Christian Pina. Thanks, Pina.
All right, guys. Talk soon. Enjoy the Pro Football Doc.
All right, take it
Peace,
easy,
bro.
Man. Kramer, got a new podcast for you to check out. That is the podcast, Parcast Network's new podcast, Sports Criminals. I mean, I feel like when we cover the NFL, half the time we're talking about crimes, what these people are up to. I mean, I loved hearing about Aaron Hernandez and Sports Criminals. They focus on all these different. A lot of them are NFL, but you have Ray Caruth. The Ray Caruth story. He hired a friend to murder his pregnant girlfriend. You got the NBA star Jason Williams. Shot his limo driver to death. Tried to cover it up. We all know that story. Chris Benoit. Oh, my God. That was an insane story as well. He murdered his wife and his 7-year-old son. Crazy, crazy world that is sports crime. Fame, money, and ego. These things can make athletes seem superhuman. But what happens when those in the professional sports reveal the darker side of their humanity. It can go wrong, as you all know. Sports criminals, athletes you thought you knew, crimes you won't forget. Listen and subscribe to Sports Criminals for free on Spotify and wherever great podcasts are downloaded, or you can check them out. All you got to do is go to parcast.com/sportscriminals to listen now. Parcast.com/sportscriminals. And of course, Ryan, our podcast can be heard on CLNS, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. Joining us on the line, Dr. David Chow, a.k.a. Pro Football Doc on Twitter. It's been a busy week, injury-wise, in the NFL, huh?
Well, no question it's been busy, but it's kind of always sort of busy. But, this week when you have Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger, it's like, oh, my gosh, right? If these same injuries happened to other people or there were more, it might be seen as not such a bad injury week, right? I mean, if there's a bad beat and it's your bad beat, that's a big deal, right? If it's someone else's bad beat, there could be three of them.
Yeah, I was betting on the Rams, so I wasn't too upset when Drew Brees couldn't grab a football all of a sudden.
I was gonna say I was on the right side on one of those, and then of course I had the Steelers, so tough to see Big Ben. But if you really even broke it down further, if you said, "Hey, two really old quarterbacks are gonna go down with mild to serious injuries this year," it wouldn't be that surprising. It does feel like there's been a lot early in the season, big names at least.
Well, I mean, if you really look at it, there really have been a lot of quarterbacks that have gone down. Of course, we're talking about Breeze, Big Ben. Last week, obviously, Nick Foles, and Andrew Luck didn't even start the season. In theory, that was due to injury. Sam Darnold with mono, right? I mean, and now his Sam Darnold's backup, Trevor Siemian, with that ugly-looking ankle. There's a number of them, and look, I don't think Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz can go at the pace that they're going and take the hits that they're taking either.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson and Wentz both took a bunch of shots past couple games.
I think a serious question as a former football or doctor for a football team, is mono something you see a lot from a grown man?
You do not, and no, it's not really the kissing disease. It is highly contagious, be it with water bottles and other things. I'm sure the Jets took the precautions. And believe it or not, when you get it when you're older, it can be more serious. And that's why when it was announced on Thursday that he had this and he was out Monday night, I said, hold on now, he's out a lot more than Monday night. This is a big deal because of the besides the weight loss and the early symptoms, but your spleen and or liver get enlarged and you can't risk contact probably in the first 3 weeks or so. That's why I said from the get-go, he's out for all of September. And he'll be back
for homecoming in October.
Nice.
Big homecoming game.
Well,
you need Darnold back for that.
Depends on when homecoming is, right? But it depends on how he feels, right? And, October, is it early October, late October? Hard to say. He'll definitely be back by November. And that's why in follow-up in the last day or two, I think Ian Rappaport said 3 to 7 weeks. That seems funny, but that's fairly realistic. That's exactly what I said. 3 weeks, he's out of September. 3 to 7 is October, but he'll be back by 7, which is November. And before you laugh at him too much, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we've probably all known some people that, whether back in our time in high school or otherwise, that missed a month of school from mono or even dropped out of some college from mono. I mean, if you have to miss a month of classes from mono, what about NFL football? You think you're going to play in a month? I mean,
yeah, that's crazy.
Sean, right? I proudly had mono, big time.
Nice.
I was big into the making out in high school, so it was nice.
I might have got it from the.
All right,
how much time did you miss?
It was like I missed a solid 3 weeks.
Yeah, but he didn't play contact sports. He played like soccer and stuff.
Oh, here we go. It was I came back and it took me a while to get back. I was a track runner at that season, at least, Sean. So it did take me a bit to get back to my my 50-second 400 hurdle pace. So
Well, now, Doc, Drew Brees, he's out. It seems pretty ambiguous, the timeline. It seems like just a thumb injury, which should be pretty simple, but obviously you need it to grip the ball.
Kind of important.
What's going on, and what can you walk us through the timeline or any insight you have there?
Yeah, this is one where I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and on Sunday when the game was going on, even before he had video picking up that ball, I was saying and doing some video and stuff at my injury site saying that, look, he's not coming back. And the worry is a skier or gamekeeper's thumb or the ulnar collateral ligament. There is a UCL ligament of the thumb. We always think of one in the elbow for the Tommy John ligament, and I'm sure we'll get there too because that's Big Ben's injury. But, you can't grip a ball. You can't spin it. You can't spin it. You can't be accurate and throw it. Otherwise, you're shot putting the ball. And he's going to miss some time, obviously. But the good news is surgery actually speeds up the timeline. Since this is a gambling podcast, I saw tonight on ESPN, I think it was Scott Van Pelt. He said that the Saints were 8-1 to win it all, and now they're 25-1. Look, I'm not really a gambler, but Drew Brees will be back for the second half of the season. I think very reliably about 6 weeks he'll be back, which is why he won't go on injured reserve. So if the Saints can hold on and make it into the playoffs, Drew Brees is going to be healthy for the end of the season, in the second half of the season. I'm not a gambler, but if you believed him at 8-1, you probably should jump on him at 25-1.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Especially when, if you're watching this on YouTube, Sean, you would see this, youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast, but we have Teddy Bridgewater, the butler, on the screen behind us. I mean, not to dive in too deep, but I don't think, that's a lot of line movement for a very competent Teddy Bridgewater backup quarterback.
He actually has playoff experience. He's started a lot of games. So great point pointing out that they're 25-1. The Steelers, on the other hand, Big Ben, it's been announced he's out for the season. He was manning 2 of my fantasy teams. I thought, this was going to be a big year for him fantasy-wise and whatever.
Thank you for the out for me picking the Steelers to make the Super Bowl because they were looking like hot garbage so far.
Yeah, so. Even with Ben Roethlisberger, they seem to struggle both on the offense and defensive side of the ball. What happened to his elbow, and why is it so bad he can't come back for the season?
Well, by video and looking at what happened and his body language and then hearing the reports of problems all week long, et cetera, and even Mason Rudolph admitted that he knew about his elbow issue. If you really go back and look at Big Ben in the video, there wasn't anything where he said, oh, look at that, he hurt his elbow. But he kind of grasped at his elbow, and he just looked over at the sideline. And to me, it wasn't a look of, oh, my gosh, what happened here? It was a look of, here we go. This is what we were worried about, kind of thing. And if you really look, the doctor and the head trainer, John Nerwig, looked at him on the sideline after the series, and he walked inside like by himself, almost like he was going to the bathroom, right? And then he came back, and there was no wrap on the arm, and he just stood there. I mean, there was no hubbub. There was no, oh, my God, let's do this bigger exam. Let's put a brace on it. Let's wrap it. It's kind of like they kind of knew that this is what they were dealing with, kind of deal. And unfortunately, an ulnar collateral ligament surgery will end his season. It is a Tommy John type surgery. There are some similarities and differences to baseball, but yeah, he's not coming back, and those Super Bowl odds aren't going to get better for the Steelers like they will for the Saints when Drew Brees comes back, assuming that, unless if they do get better, it's going to be because of Mason Rudolph, not Big Ben.
Yeah. Well, I know with the baseball sometimes in Tommy John surgery, it actually helps the players long-term, certain pitchers, and they'll even get it intentionally, like early or ahead of time. Is there any chance this revives his career at the end here, or do you think it'll impact him playing next year? Or do you think this could be early, or not early, but do you think he retires because of this? How do you see his future, I guess, is my question.
Well, he's come out and said he got a 3-year extension and he intends to finish it out. So he has made that statement. There's no guarantee he'll be ready for next year coming off this surgery. It is certainly possible. And if he works hard, I might even say probable, but there's no guarantee that he'll be ready. In some ways, throwing a football is much easier than throwing a baseball. In some ways, it's much harder. How it's easier is that the majority of throws are not max torque, max velocity throws, right? It's not every throw that you're thrown to a very tight window, right? And, let's say you have 40 passes in a game. How many of the 40 are in a super tight window or 50 yards down the field?
Yeah.
10 at most?
Yeah, you're right. It's not a lot of bullets. It's usually a little bit of touch. You're trying to put a little air under it, so you're not whipping it like a fastball every single time. Doc, what are some potential? I know injuries are hard to predict, but are there any players right now? I know you threw out Deshaun Watson there, Carson Wentz you mentioned, but are there any other ones out there, possibly quarterbacks, running backs, or just stuff you're seeing right now that possibly the way they're playing could lead to some injuries?
Well, one already happened. I was super surprised that the Redskins had so much confidence in Darius Geis. In that third preseason game, he had 11 carries for 44 yards, but I didn't see him stick his left foot into the ground with that left knee ACL from last year and several subsequent surgeries due to an infection. I didn't see a lot of confidence in that left knee displayed by Geis, and I thought he would have a very slow start. I was very surprised that they were going to run him as much as he could, and et cetera. And now, he has the right knee injury, that could have been from compensation. And that's the scope could actually help him. He needs to take 8 weeks off, get the right knee better, and let the left knee catch up. At this point, he doesn't have a good leg to stand on, so to speak, right? And so that one we saw sort of coming. Demaryius Thomas, when in the fourth preseason game when he played and he was featured in the first half and had 2 touchdowns, and everyone is saying to me, you're wrong. Why are you so down on Demaryius Thomas? Well, look at what he's done since. He hasn't done much since. He's been traded to the Jets. What did he have today? He got injured with his hamstring again, and I don't know, it was 1 catch or -1 yard. He didn't have a lot, but then again, who do you really have throwing to him? So that's not completely fair, and he's in a new scheme and a new system. But, whatever. So that's one. I'll give you some to watch out for the other way. Look, I've been a little pessimistic on Marquise Brown, but he's proven me wrong so far. But here's what's amazing about what he's done. He's not even playing half the plays right now, and he's putting up some numbers.
Yeah.
His foot isn't even well enough to play all the plays. And, he's running a lot of go routes and whatever, but maybe he's just that fast. I don't even know that he can really cut as hard as he wants to yet. So there might be some pretty big potential there if he really does get healthy, because in the first week, I think he played it was against the Dolphins, but still 14 plays, and he had 4 receptions for something like 147 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Crazy.
He played 14 plays. And that's crazy.
Efficiency right
That's
there.
crazy numbers.
That's insane.
Yeah, and the other one I was super high on coming into the year, and he was sort of my sleeper, was Dalvin Cook. Everyone, I think, sort of forgot about him after his ACL, and then last year, a lackluster year with hamstring coming off of ACL. It's like, he's finally going to be ready to go, and he's had 2 good weeks so far.
Yeah, I think he might be leading the league in rushing. And then another guy who's kind of had a lot of injury issues, but I think he's leading the league in receiving yards, John Ross, another guy that seemingly had injury issues and just wasn't producing, and now is off to a great season.
Yeah, about time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, appreciate you calling in, Pro Football Doc. And what can we get over at profootballdoc.com?
Well, I would love you guys to check it out. You're gambling guys.
Oh yeah.
Look, here's what we do at profootballdoc.com. The biggest thing is we have an injury index. So it's matchup based injury information. So let's look at tonight's game, Monday Night Football. You can go and look at it. You can log on for free, create an account. It's still unlocked and free right now. It pretty much said that the Jets passing offense was about a D, or I gave him a D plus based on injury, Sam Darnold and otherwise. And what did they do? Not much, right?
Yeah.
And that the Jets run defense was also going to struggle because of Quinnen Williams and C.J. Mosley out, and the Jets run offense was about a B or B minus because Le'Veon Bell dinged and a couple other minor issues. So it's week to week injury adjusted assessments. One of the big takeaways from there for me has been for the first 2 weeks. Has been the Chargers are among the most banged up team in the league right now for week 1 and now week 2. And, week 1 matchup, we had the injury index saying that the Chargers were all banged up, but the common opinion was, well, the Colts are more injured because they don't have Luck. Well, they've got Brissett in there for Luck, but the 21 other players, 11 on defense and 10 on offense, were all starters from last year, whereas the Chargers were missing their left tackle, Russell Okung, due to pulmonary embolism. They're missing Derwin James, their star safety.
Jeez.
They're missing 3 hobbled linebackers, and the injury index pretty much said their run defense wasn't going to be very good with all the linebackers down. Thomas Davis did yeoman work. I think he had like 14 tackles the first week, but Marlon Mack for the Colts still had 174 yards that first week. And, going into Detroit this week, they were still banged up. Now they're even more banged up because, of obviously Hunter Henry last week, Mike Williams is down, and now the Adrian Phillips, which is Derwin James's backup, is injured. So we don't try and look at starting quarterbacks. We try and look at the injury index on a matchup basis. And, to apply that with your gambling or DFS or whatever knowledge, I think it can be helpful to provide some information like that, not to mention the real-time injury information. And we do a 2-minute warning chat in case there's anything ever that's actionable for halftime.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I just got in now. I'm on the injury index. You got all the grades next to the lines and the money lines, the totals. You can, like Panthers, you can break it down to Panthers offense, their run offense, their pass offense, everything. Oh man, this is going to be really helpful. So appreciate it.
Sean's in.
No, I mean it's a really cool tool. So make sure you check that out over at profootballdoc.com, and make sure you follow Dr. David Chow on Twitter at profootballdoc. Dr. David, appreciate you calling in, man. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that does it for the podcast.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
Make sure you check out Pro Football Doc on Twitter and profootballdoc.com. Christian Pina, Inside Vegas. Check that out. And check us out, guys. Come on. Giving away free cash. Trying to give it away with our lock challenge every Saturday morning or Friday night on Twitter. And, of course, the free roll football contest. We'll be updating the weekly winners on our NFL Picks podcast. And, again, rate, review, and share on iTunes. We're up to 540 ratings, Ryan. Those are fun, the ratings, but it's the reviews. That's what we live for. So sign up, send in a hilarious review. If it's really great, we'll give you some free merch.
Wow. Okay. Does it have to be hilarious?
It can be serious. It can be poignant. But again, don't make it too profane. We seem to have a moderation issue with our iTunes reviews. So keep it clean, guys, so you can help support the podcast. And again, support our sponsors, mybookie.ag, promo code SGP for the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green, and he is Ryan.
Dare I take this time to read one of those reviews?
Go for it.
Pretty solid podcast. 5 stars. Underwhelming. Sandy Bottoms. Guys are pretty good. They are, quote, gut handicappers and don't take themselves too seriously, which is what I like. Seem like 3 pretty cool dudes, and Colby seems to be one of the better unknown experts when it comes to college football. We'll need to scrub this from the records. We can't have Colby getting too excited now.
Kramer, let it ride.